Hello, this is a presentation of the basic HUD for MTTs. Here, this is our game table. And here you're gonna see the HUD panel of the basic MTT HUD. So the first line is showing the player name, the hand sample, and the color picker. The color picker is a feature where you can mark the player as player type A or player type B. This is useful for analysis reasons, but not so important during the grind. But this is important to have it. So the upcoming line is the line for VPIP, PFR, preflop 3-bets and fold against 3-bets, with Statpopups for each stat, but I'm gonna mention those later on. The third line is positional RFI for Anodigan, middle position, hijack, cutoff, and button. Then there's a separator, and then the first line, or the first stats of the fourth line is the Preflop stat, fold against Preflop. Then there's a tiny separator for check raising flop and folds against check raises. And the last stat is the total AF stat, which is the total aggression factor. Alright, now I want to show you the Statpopups, which are linked to the stats of the HUD panel, which delivers an extension to the HUD panel and shows many more statistics in a very simplified way. So whenever you want to look up more informations on, for example, actions linked to VPIP, for example limits or flatting, you hover or click on the VPIP panel, stat in the HUD panel. It opens a VPIP stat pop-up with many tabs like preflop, postflop in limp pots, versus steals, flatting, limp actions, and so on. So super much detailed information here. The same applies for PFR. You have PFR standard general tab, but also a ISO raise tab. For 3-betting you have a general tab, a positional 3-bet tab with non-all-in and all-ins, and a total 3-bet. You have a overview for the stack-sized 3-bets and note tab. Fold against 3-bets, you have an overview for folds against 3-bets, but also calls against 3-bets. The positional RFI Statpopups show you the stack-sized filterings for the RFI of each position, and the separator is showing how he is responding against 3-bets. But also you can compare the frequencies of RFI and open jams to see how the villain is deviating his strategies. So, for example, here the button example, the player is open raising non-all-in less than he is open jamming. This is simply because the villain has, or the player has less fold equity when he is open raising non-all-in in comparison to when he is open jamming. So his raise first in non-all-in range must be much stronger than his open jam range. Of course, the open jam range must be somewhat strong. But yeah, as you can see, the higher the stack sizes gets, the less the player is open jamming. But it is quite interesting to see the exact frequencies. Alright, then we have some Postflop Stat-Popups. This here is the Stat-Popup for steep flop. So you can see some positional summarizes for IP and out of position and multi-way. You can see which bet sizes villain is using. You can see bet lines. You can see some boards. So you can see, for example, how often he is c-betting on monotone boards compared to two-tone boards or rainbow boards, and so on. You can see his reaction against raises. Then you can see a tab for his response after he is missed the c-bet. This is split in heads up and multi-way. You can see a tab for all his actions in 3-bet pots. So the first c-bet flop tab is focused on single raise pots, because those single raise pots are quite more frequently as the 3-bet pots. Then you have a tab for turns and rivers. The fold against c-bet tab shows you a menu for folds and calls for each street, how he is, how often he is folding in position and out of position, multi-way, and against which bet sizes, or how he is calling, with which range composition he is calling. The same applies for turns and rivers. Then you have a stat pop-up for check raises in total, so you can see how he is check raising the flop, check raising the turn, check raising the river. If you are interested in his used sizing, you click or hover over sizing, and stat pop-up applies or opens, where you can see the used check raising sizes. For example, here the most common used check raise size is less than 2.5x, followed by 3 to 4x, followed by 2.5 to 3x sizing. Then you are able to write some notes here. Then you have something likely like check raise flop for raise against c-bets. So when the player is raising in position and gets c-bets out of position, and then you are able to write some notes on that. You have a stat pop-up for check raising, folds against check raises on the flop, where you can see how often he is folding, calling and raising, and linked stats and postflop diagrams. And ultimately you have a pop-up for total aggression factor with flop, turn and river aggression factors and a total aggression factor. And yeah, this is simply a legend where you can set your own numbers for passive AF numbers or aggro AF numbers. Yeah, feel free to edit those at your own style. Then we can talk about the main pop-ups, which you can launch by clicking on the HUD panel. The first one is the preflop 3-bets. So you have a overview for all common and important informations and stats about 3-bets. You are able to write some notes on it. Sorry. Furthermore, you can see some stack sized 3-bet positional informations. This one here is the 3-bet not all in tab. So you can see positional 3-betting filtered for less than 15 big blinds, 15 to 20 big blinds, 20 to 25 big blinds, 25 to 30 big blinds, and so on. And furthermore, you have a subline for folds against 3-bets. So whenever a player is 3-betting non all in, you can see one line below how often he is folding against a 4-bet. Here you can see super low numbers, so this is showing that these 3-bets here are super strong and he's basically never folding, so you don't really need to slow play your nuts against his 3-bets, so you simply always horseplay by 4-betting here. When you are not interested in 3-bet not all in stats, you click on the second tab here, which is 3-bet all-ins. So you can see some stack size and positional filtered here. Then we have a pop-up for 4-bets after he is raising raise first in on preflop. You can find some stack size filterings for 4-bet non all-ins and 4-bet all-ins. And you have big pop-up for postflop as a preflop aggressor. So you can analyze statistics about 3-betting for playing against float bets. So when the player is missing the c-bet, how often he is responding against bet of the preflop caller who is in position. Then how the player is responding against probe bets, which are bets out of position of the preflop caller when the preflop aggressor misses the c-bet in position. And how often he is, or how he is responding against donk bets, which is a bet out of position in a raise pot in a spot where the preflop caller has no real or where he is not the initial aggressor preflop, so he can be the initial aggressor postflop. And usually there are tiny amounts of donk bets. Then we have a Postflop pop-up for the caller in single race pods. So you can see how often or how he is playing against seperate, how he is float betting, so how often he is betting in position against missed seperate out of positions, and vice versa, so probe betting and donk betting. For float bet, probe bet, and donk bet, you can see a multi-way pop-up where you simply hover or click on it and multi-way sub-pop-up opens. Alright, that's it. Ultimately, I want to show you some furthermore HUD display options. So you can see 8 different HUD styles. For example, when you are interested in lower font sizes, you click on the small, so the font size reduces a bit. When you are interested in a different HUD style, you click on a different number here. So this is the invisible stat pop-up here. When you want to have other style like this here, this is the transparent version of the basic HUD. And when you have, or you went to make it invisible and transparent, you click on 1, so the pop-up is transparent and somewhat like lower opacity, like you know from Pocket Tracker or Holder Manager. Yeah, and you can switch or activate those pop-ups by clicking on the Hand2Note main Hand2Note main icon, and then click on switch profile and a drop-down menu appears. And as you can see, the positions are not set correctly. How can we switch the arrangement? We click on the Hand2Note icon, unblock or untick block moving HUD by mouse. Then we hold a right click on it, on the HUD panel how we like the positions. I guess that's really smart here. Now I want to save it. We click again on the Hand2Note icon. Now we select block moving HUD by mouse. And then we see that we have a new position here. It's not perfect, so now we correct it. Alright, this looks good now. Alright, now we have a look again how it's looking on the other ones. Yeah. Alright. Thanks for watching, guys.